Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Gabriel Antoniazzi. Barry Ferguson and Tam McManus join us today. And good afternoon to all of you at home joining us on our social media channels. Don't forget to send in all of your questions, any thoughts you might have. Today we'll be speaking about Rangers' new signing, looking ahead to the further pre-season friendlies tomorrow, and also discussing if Jordan Henderson is the best player in the Premier League. But first of all, we'll start in Paisley with St Mirren. Last night, news broke that they had 7 positive tests among their staff members for COVID-19. No players, just staff. It has since emerged today that 6 of them were false positives. Only 1 has second tested for coronavirus. We can read the statement that they put out earlier today. Here's what it says. They begin by saying, "We have compiled robustly with the official testing and hygiene regimen to the letter, using a private testing facility in accordance with the Scottish Government and the Joint Response Group protocols. Our players were tested on Monday the 20th and have returned 100% negative tests on Wednesday the 22nd of July. However, results for 7 of the coaching staff showed they were positive. We immediately implemented isolation protocols and made arrangements for coaching staff to be retested. I'm very pleased to report 6 of the coaching staff tests have come back negative this morning. The remaining member of staff continues to be in isolation. We will be undertaking an urgent review of the private testing arrangements, which returned the initial false positive result." So good news in the end, if it's only 1 positive. Of course, all of us at PLZ Soccer wish that person a speedy recovery. There's nothing that has affected the players so far. But Barry, obviously the positive tests were bad, but it is good that it's just 1 in the end, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, it was a worry last night when the story broke regarding the 7 staff members testing positive. But really good news that came out again this afternoon, obviously, with that statement. It's just read that 6 of them were false and 1 was positive. And as you rightly said there, we wish the positive one all the best and a speedy recovery. But it was a worry initially last night, Gabby, if I'm being honest with you, because then you start to think, is the season going to start? Is St Mirren going to be able to start? I know it's staff members, but you know how quickly this virus can spread. But thankfully, St Mirren have been stuck to the protocols, done everything possible, done everything to the book. So gladly, a bit of better news today.
Mm-hmm. Is it something we're going to have to get used to, Tam? Obviously, the 3 of us and many football fans don't know the ins and outs of the way that the testing works or what false tests are, but it's something that might become a common occurrence, false tests and stop starting, certain people going into isolation. We're just going to have to get used to it.
Yeah. Listen, I think they're going to be testing twice a week now, according to the statement today. So, listen, it's, as Barry said, it's better news. It was, if there was 6 people or 7 people with the virus, it would have really been bad news for St Mirren and probably for the start of the season for other clubs who were up against them. So I'm glad it's only 1. Hopefully they can get that person. As you said, they wish them all the best, or her, and they get the treatment they need and they stay isolated from the rest of the squad and the team, and we can get on with the start of the season, because as Barry was saying last night, I was thinking, I think they play Livingston in the next game. Plus, they'd already played Hamilton, and Hamilton they played Hibs. So it was a knock-on effect for a lot of clubs if that had spread and within St Mirren. So hopefully, fingers crossed, better news, and we can continue with the start of the season and continue with the testing, because the testing up till now has been really good. There's been very, very few positive tests, and that was a bit of a shock last night to find out that. But obviously, only 1. Hopefully, we can just kick on now.
Mm-hmm. It was a worry for everyone when those tests came in. Barry, do you think there's any chance that the season might not start for positive tests coming back from any clubs, or could we see halts in the season?
No, I think if you listen what comes out of each and every club, I think they've been strict and they stick to the guidelines, Gabby. So I think everything's going to be fine. Up until last night, as I said, things have been going great. The amount of tests that have been done, the amount of clubs that have come out and said everything's going well. So I was always positive. A bit of worry, as I said last night, but thankfully it's only one positive test. And as St Mirren said in the statement, they're straight. The person who obviously tested positive is staying away for the staff and the players. So I think we're looking good, as I said. I think every club, you've got to take your hat off to them. They've stuck to the strict guidelines that are in place, and hopefully up until next Saturday, everything's going to be fine and we can get the season up and running, because I think every single person in Scotland who's a football fan is just desperate to get football back and start to watch their team, even if it's just on TV. So hopefully, as I said, it was just a bit of a fright last night, but now we can move on and hopefully there's no more in the next 7 to 8 days.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Barry. A few mentions. Karma Helen, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. John Watt, Scott Weir, thanks for your nice comments. Make sure you send in any questions you have and I'll pose them to the two men next to me. So yeah, as we said, Hamilton were the team that St Mirren were playing at the weekend. We can see what Hamilton said today. They also put out a statement. They had no positive tests. Exactly what they said was, we believe St Mirren have returned 7 positive COVID-19 tests. Of course, we know that is now just 1. Following the departure of the St Mirren squad on Saturday, the area used was cleaned and disinfected. The local occupation by St Mirren was a segregated area at the far end of our stadium and is separate from the areas used by Hamilton Accies players and staff on a match day. Subsequently, on Monday, all players and backroom staff were tested, with all results returning negative. Hamilton Academical will continue to follow advice from the SFA and SPFL Joint Response Group. So Hamilton think they're in the clear at the moment. We hope they all are. They, of course, get their season underway against Celtic on Sunday. It just shows why it's so important we need to follow the guidelines, doesn't it, Tam? If one person is out of line, if the strict regulations aren't followed, one person could catch it, and we know how fast the virus spreads.
Yeah, it's very important, Gab, that all the clubs follow it to the letter. I think it has been going really well. You know, I've seen a lot of videos on social media of clubs, and listen, they have been doing everything they can to keep this virus in check. As you said, it does spread very quickly. So as you said, if 1 or 2 people get it within that tight and closed area of a dressing room, a coaching staff room, you know, it can spread quickly. So I think the clubs here are doing everything they can to abide by the Scottish Government guidelines. And if we continue to do that, then hopefully, fingers crossed, we can keep the numbers really down. And that applies for the whole of Scotland, not just obviously the football, but just do everything we can. We can't have players doing or coaches doing what they like, and I don't think they have been. They've got to stay within the rules, and if we keep doing that, then we can go on and kick on the season and get the football back.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're all hoping. Our final line on St Mirren, their game at the weekend against St Johnstone, their final friendly has been cancelled, and they begin their campaign at home to Livingston, as Tam said. Okay, yeah, as we're talking about there, following the guidelines, I know it's a bit tedious. You at home might be sick hearing this, but it's important that we adhere to everything we hear from the governing bodies. Now, Rangers are reportedly facing an SPFL probe over an alleged breach of protocol. Now, this comes after their games on Wednesday night. If you remember, their match with Motherwell at Ibrox was delayed from 6 until 8 o'clock because both teams hadn't returned their results in time. However, Rangers had played earlier against Dundee United, and 9 first-team players were fielded, but reports suggest that they may not have got their tests back in time, so they shouldn't have been allowed to play if that is the case. So due to the delay, of course, the Motherwell game was pushed back, and the SPFL have started a probe. They've asked the club what's going on. So Barry, do you understand? Do you follow there? How could some players not play at 6? Then the likes of Jordan Jones and several others were already playing at, I think, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I read that, but I will say, Gabby, and I mentioned it and Tam mentioned it, I think every club is trying their best to stick to the guidelines and put their tests at it. Look, I think things are going to be late at times with the amount of tests that have to go on at each club. And as we know, some clubs are trying to play as many games as possible. Rangers had 2 games that day. And listen, I know it got delayed a couple of hours, but I'm sure Rangers and Motherwell stuck to the guidelines and tried their best to get the tests in time. So I don't see it being an issue. I understand the SPFL do need to probe because they want things done properly. But I keep going back to it. I think every club is trying their best to do things right, because every single club and every single supporter wants to get football back played as soon as possible in a healthy manner. So look, I don't see it as an issue. I think it'll get sorted in the next couple of days. I don't see Rangers have tried anything nasty or meant it in any way, shape or form. I just think it's been a bit of misunderstanding, but I would trust the fact that they've tested each and every player before they've been ready to play a game.
Mm-hmm. Understand what you're saying there, Barry. A few people disagreeing with you online. What do you think, Tam? Do you think that they have followed the guidelines? And of course, it's unprecedented times, so there could be slow communication at times. Or do you think it is out of order from Rangers?
No, I don't think they would do anything intentionally, Gabby. Rangers, in terms of spreading it within their squad, I don't agree with that at all. I think they've been trying to do everything they can, and all the clubs are. To try and get the football back, because everybody wants the games played, everybody wants supporters back in the stadium. So I don't think anybody, the Rangers have got doctors in there and medical people. I don't think they would risk other people's health and the health of their own staff just to get a friendly game on. So I don't think it was anything underhand, to be honest. I think it was just, obviously Barry was saying that maybe the results come back late. So much testing going on, and if you're playing 2 and 3 games a week, and now it's your players getting tested and your staff twice a week. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes in terms of the testing and getting results back. And so, no, I don't think it was anything underhand by Rangers. I just think maybe results come back maybe a little bit late, but they wouldn't risk their own players' health, staff and the other teams. No way.
Yeah, I agree with the pair of you there.
Yeah, Gabby, can I just say, people have got to remember this is a serious virus, so I think every single club involved in this is taking it serious. Now, for people to disagree with what you just said there, I think it's nonsense. I don't think any club, whether it be Rangers, St Mirren, Motherwell, Hearts, Hibs, whoever, they know how serious this virus is, and they know how much we need the football to get back up and running. And 100% believe every single club in Scotland are doing everything by the book. As Tam mentioned there, and I mentioned, they're playing 2 or 3 games a week. Now, it is a lot of testing. It takes a bit of time for these results to get back. But no way do I think any club would take a chance, because we know how serious this virus has been in the whole world in the last 3 or 4 months. So I don't buy into people disagreeing with me. I don't think any single club would try anything silly, because we all need, and we know how much we need the football back up and running financially for all our clubs as well.
Yeah, I'm sure Rangers would take every precaution. They didn't even have linesmen in the game with Dundee United because they hadn't returned their test results in time. So that just goes to show that they are trying to follow...
Is that how they never got a penalty?
Your new Hibs TV hat on, Tam. Official
the score line there. What was it? There was 3 or 4 goals that's allowed, wasn't there? Offside.
So.
Was there? For Dundee United.
I'm sure that more of that will come out as the probe happens. But as I said, Rangers, Motherwell and Hibernian have all been asked to detail what's happened with their COVID-19 testing protocols. If you remember, last weekend at Hibs and Ross County's game did not go ahead, much to the angst of both managers, because their test results haven't come back in time. So the Joint Response Group are waiting to complete their probe. They're keen to ensure that all of the clubs are following correct guidelines. So yes, it seems that everyone is in the same boat. Safety first, but we want to get the football back up and running. And it appears we're only 8 days away at the moment. Do you think from the Joint Response Group, the SFA and the SPFL, it's a difficult position to be in. If we saw the 7 positive cases only turned out to be 1, but Barry, could it be a real difficult decision for Ian Maxwell or Neil Doncaster to say, look, we can't play, even all the preparations gone in, the friendly games, and if someone breaks out, one club breaks out with several cases, it's going to be a tough decision, isn't it, to say they can't play, the league can't start?
Yeah, look, Gabby, I try not to think about that. I'm desperate for the football to get started. It's going to be a tough decision, but as I keep going back to it, I believe every club will be trying everything in their power to do things right. There might be some mistakes made along the way, but believe me when I say this, every club will do things by the book. Because as I said, this is a virus that's killed many people, not just in Scotland, but throughout the world. So I don't think any single club will take a chance. But we know how quickly this virus spreads, Gabby, and if it does spread and it kind of goes through a club, then there's big decisions to be made. But let's hope that we don't need to come to that decision, because we're all desperate to get the football kicked off next Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just hope that all clubs are following all advice, and I'm sure they are, especially after this probe. Right, this might affect you, Barry, actually. Some breaking news out of STV this hour. It's about the Scottish Cup next season, not the one that is going to conclude in October and December. This is the Scottish Cup 2020-2021, if I can get it out. Now, they're saying there'll be a maximum of 52 entrants, which is less than half that are currently eligible to enter the tournament. They'll be competing over 7 rounds, starting from Boxing Day. So that's after the last tournament concludes. I think it's the 20th of December, the final is. So it'll be the 42 SPFL clubs, joined by 10 other clubs who are capable of fulfilling the fixtures. Now, if more than 10 clubs are able to take part, lots will be drawn to see who completes the 52 teams. Barry, as manager of Kelty Hearts, can I get your initial reaction to that?
Well, we'll be able to participate in the game. There's no doubt about that. But if you're coming back and say 25, 30 other clubs out with the 42 want to participate, and then it comes out in a draw, and we don't get pulled out of that hat, I would be bitterly disappointed, if I'm being honest with you. We won our league last year. Brora Rangers won the Highland League last year. And I can understand, though, that a lot of clubs want to play in the Scottish Cup. It's an unbelievable trophy to win. I'm lucky enough to do it myself a number of times. And it's the cup you want to be involved in. So if it does come down to a draw and we don't get pulled out the hat, I wouldn't be happy, and I'm sure my committee and the general manager wouldn't be happy.
Mm. Do you think it should be done differently then, perhaps on league position last season, or how far you got in the cup last season, something like that?
Well, we didn't get very far in the cup last year, so I hope it doesn't go with that. Listen, I think the champions, each of their leagues should be in it. But listen, again, what goes on in Scottish football sometimes it is strange, but we just need to wait and see what happens. But I think there'll be more than 10 participants want to take part in the Scottish Cup. As I said, it's a fabulous trophy to be involved in, and it's the sort of trophy that is glamorous. You can get drawn against some fantastic clubs, and we're no different. And I wouldn't fault any on a club want to put their name into the hat, into the ring. So we just need to wait and see what happens. I would hazard a guess that a lot of clubs would want to be involved in it, out with the 42 SPFL clubs, Gabs.
Tam, what do you reckon? A lot of clubs will want to be involved, whether it's to try and get as far as they can, or even if you get the big day out, you get a trip away to Celtic Park or Ibrox or Pittodrie.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be stacks of clubs wanting involved in the Scottish Cup, particularly with the last few months with the pandemic. Clubs will be desperate to draw a big club, and get if supporters are back, hopefully by the end of the year, Boxing Day next year will be supporters back in the grounds, and teams will be desperate, to keep a club alive, and especially now. So you've got your Kelty Hearts, Bonnie Riggs, and you've got teams in the Lowland League and the Highland League. And obviously the new West of Scotland League, there'll be a lot of clubs wanting to get involved in the Scottish Cup, but I think you've got to have the league winners of the previous season, surely. I mean, likes of Abrora and Kelty surely are in that 10. I think it'd be wrong, as Barry said, but some things don't surprise you. It's a bit of a mess. We've shown it this season with reconstruction, and some of the decisions have been really strange. So I would certainly, presume that the likes of Kelty and Brora would be in the hat in the first round. But if you're talking about clubs who are maybe wanting into it, I would expect near enough every club who've got a little stand and who've got the facilities to host a Scottish Cup game would be wanting in the hat. So it'd be a big ballot, I think, for teams. And as you said, if Barry's team are in there, or Brora who've won the league and they don't get drawn out, I think that would be really poor. So I'm hoping they see sense in that, to be honest.
Yeah, as you say.
Another thing,
sorry, Barry, go ahead.
In terms of the Lowland League, I mean, we had two teams that done fantastically well. BSC and Bonnyrigg had great runs in the Scottish Cup, and I'm sure it pulled in a lot of money. I mean, BSC had Hibs at Allowa's Stadium. That was a fantastic draw for them, a great money spinner. So I don't blame these clubs that would want to put their name forward to get drawn. But I'm with Tam. I think that the league champion should be in it. But also I wouldn't blame any other club in the Lowland League or the Highland League, and even through in the West of Scotland, the pyramid system. These sort of teams, your Auchinlecks and teams like that, they want to be involved in it. As I say, the Scottish Cup's a fantastic trophy to be involved in. As I just says, a team from a Lowland League like BSC getting drawn against Hibs, a Premier League club, that's a great draw for the players. It's a great day out for the fans. That's what the Scottish Cup's all about.
I think we all remember that BSC game last season. It was it's fantastic to see. Keep your comments coming online. What do you at home think about the plans that are being reported for 52 teams to go in? I'm not quite sure where that thinking comes from. Perhaps it's that they want to wait for one tournament to finish before they start the other one. But you see at the moment the Champions League qualifiers for next season are going to begin whilst the tournament is still on and being played out, the finals in Lisbon in August. So I don't see there being a problem there if you have the Lowland League or the Highland League or the West of Scotland League teams playing against each other, because they're not one of the final four teams in the tournament. So if they can, I don't see why they shouldn't be able to play before December to give everyone an equal opportunity. But as Tam said there, we don't really know the goings-on inside the SFA or the SPFL, so we'll just have to wait to see what they come out with on that one. Okay, keep your comments coming. I'll read the best ones out. Any questions, let us know. Moving on, Rangers have confirmed a signing today. It is the centre-half Leon Balogun on a one-year deal. Now, the 32-year-old Nigerian international is a centre-half. He's coming in what looks like to replace Nikola Katic in the team. He's, of course, injured for quite a long time. No official time frame on Katic yet. But Balogun is in one-year deal. Barry, initial thoughts on that as former Rangers captain?
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't know too much about him. I had a wee check-up on him earlier on before we come on to the show. He's certainly got a decent enough CV. He's played at a World Cup. He's been in Germany playing. He went over to Belgium, didn't play much, and obviously he's been down in the Championship with Wigan. So I don't know too much about him, but certainly he's got a half-decent CV. And I'm not surprised that I think when Katic did get that severe knee injury, it was a no-brainer for the manager to go out and try and bring another centre back in, because you need competition. You need to keep the guys who are in the centre-half position on their toes. So I'm not surprised that the managers acted quite quickly and to bring the boy in.
Tam started all three games for Nigeria at the World Cup in 2018. Only made 10 appearances last season for Wigan. Do you think he will come in as a starter? Edmondson's played quite well in pre-season so far, but do you think that he'll be trying to dislodge him from the team?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think he only played 10 games for Wigan, but I spoke about this last week. Wigan had one of the best defensive records in Europe over the last 2 or 3 months. They did 9 or 10 clean sheets out of 11 games. He was part of that. Like Barry, I had a little check on him, and he has been playing recently in that great Wigan run. So, he's coming up. I think he's got a decent pedigree. As you said, he's played in the World Cup. He's experienced, 32-year-old, good age, I think, for a centre-back. So he'll come up and definitely challenge for a place. Edmondson's been really good in pre-season. I quite like him. I look at Helander. I don't know where he is. He's not featured much. As he's still coming back from injury. So there's going to be competition back there. And him coming in as well just bolsters him a little bit. So I think he's maybe a squad player. But he could force his way into the starting 11, definitely.
It'll be interesting to see how he does get on. Just want both your thoughts on Rangers centre-halves from last season. It's quite obvious that Connor Goldson is Steven Gerrard's number one man. It's Goldson plus one, whether it is Katic, Edmondson, Helander or now Balogun. So Goldson aside, who's your favourite, Barry, if they are all fit? I know Katic was probably first choice last season. Is he the one you would play if they were all fit?
But Edmondson's certainly impressed me when he came in last season in the games. Listen, Golson's a certain starter. You can see that Steven Gerrard's number one. They spent a lot of money on Helander. He's obviously had these injury problems. I don't know if he's still injured. I don't know if he's even played in any pre-season games. I don't know if he's still suffering for that foot injury. But they certainly spent, I think it was round about the £3 million mark. So that'll be interesting to see. But Edmondson certainly, he's a work in progress. That's what I would probably put him down as. He's got a lot of potential, the boy. Certainly impressed me in the pre-season games. I watched the game the other night against Motherwell, and again he had a real good, solid performance. So that's the kind of probably two I think he'll favour for going into the Aberdeen game at Pittodrie. And also with the new boy coming in, it adds that competition for places. As I said, I don't know what's exactly going on with Helander, whether he's still suffering from a bit of the injury he had back 3 or 4 months ago. But certainly Edmondson's impressed me alongside Golson, that's for sure.
Now, a few comments on here. Helander surely has to be the best from Dougie Little, but then you have Karma Helen saying, get Helander out. Too much money he's on. Use Mayo. Tam, have you seen Lewis Mayo play? I've seen him play a few times. I quite like him. I'm not sure he's ready yet. Perhaps another year out on loan. But how do you see the Rangers centre-half situation, Tam?
I think he's a promising young centre-half. I've seen him a couple of times. I've seen him in a couple of reserve games, actually. And he came on against, I think it was Leon at the back and done well. I think it's a different kettle of fish when you're the pressure of Ibrox, as Barry was saying. You've got to win every week and you can't afford to make a mistake. I think it's a big ask for him to come into the team. So I think he's promising maybe for a year or two his time, but I think you'd have to go with the experience at the back for Rangers at the minute. Balogun, they've got competition. Helander, as I said, he's been out a long time. Rangers, that's a big amount for Rangers to spend. To splash out £3 or £4 million on a player, and he's hardly kicked a ball. He looked decent when he played, but obviously his injury's taken a lot longer to come back from than most was anticipated. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think he's featured in any pre-season games, as far as I can see anyway. So. I think they're going to have to forget about him for the start of the season and go with what they've got. So Edmondson, I think Edmondson and Goldson will be the two that start up at Aberdeen. Aberdeen's a tough fixture and you need leaders, you need to defend strongly, and I think they two will be the two centre-backs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Edmondson gets on if he does start up against Sam Cosgrove. He's a big lad, Edmondson, and a good physical side to his game. So that'll be a good battle. I'm sure. On Helander, when he first got injured, I think it was back in January, February, and I was in press conferences with Gerrard, and they weren't sure exactly what was wrong. I think they were saying that the doctors had no idea what was exactly wrong with his foot, and it seems to have kept him out for so long. So they will be gutted because they brought him in from Serie A for £3 or £4 million, Sweden international as well. So that is a tough one for Rangers. Right, we're going to have to quickly move on. A lot still to get through. Still on transfers, though, and one that's been going on all week. It's Celtic's hunt for a goalkeeper. Now, they've been in negotiations, reportedly, with AEK Athens over Vasilios Barkas, the goalkeeper, the Greek international with 10 caps. Now, they initially had a bid of around £3.5 million rejected. Reports today is suggesting they're coming back with a £5 million bid, which may be enough to make the Greek side budge. But that comes as well as Southampton have reportedly put Fraser Forster on the transfer list. Now, it's huge news for Celtic fans. We know how massive he has been to them in the past and all his spells at the club, how desperate Neil Lennon is to get him back at the club. Celtic might have to wait for this one to develop a little bit more, but how do you play it, Barry? How do you play this one? Do you wait for Forster, or do you go all in for Barkas if you do think he's the one?
I think if you asked Neil Lennon, I think he asked the players at Celtic and even the supporters, they would want Fraser Forster back. I mean, I feel if I'm repeating myself, a top-class goalkeeper earns you 12 to 15 points a season, and certainly Fraser Forster played a massive part last year for Celtic. I think he's even better when he was first at Celtic, if I'm being honest with you. That stint back down in the Premier League, I know he was out the picture for a year at Southampton, but he is a top quality goalkeeper. There's no doubt about it. And when you've got a top quality goalkeeper and behind you, you know you're in safe hands. That's for sure. And I'm sure Neil Lennon will be trying everything possible to try and get Fraser Forster back. As I said, he was a difference sometimes when Celtic weren't at their best last season. Fraser Forster come up with some massive saves. So for me, it's a big position as well. When you've got a big, strong, commanding goalkeeper, it settles you, it makes you feel at ease. The 10 players outfield, that's for sure. So I'm sure Celtic will be doing everything in their power to try and get Forster back.
Norman Hedgney says, bring the wall, Forster back. Whereas Andy Clark says Celtic can't afford him, move on. That's quite interesting, Andy. I want to ask you that, Tam. If you can get Barkas for £5 million and you're confident that he's the one that can deliver you, trophies, silverware, he's a safe pair of hands, do you go for that, or do you perhaps pay 8, 9, 10 million for Forster? What do you do?
Well, I think the Celtic supporters, to a man, would want Forster back. But are Celtic going to go and break their wage structure to bring him in? That's the thing. Is he going to come up and be the highest paid player at Celtic and break that wage structure that the Celtic have got? A lot of Celtic fans would say it'd be worth it, especially what's at stake this season with 10 in a row. It's up to the money men at Celtic Park, really. That's who it's up to. I think Barkas has got a great reputation in Greece. They call him the Yellow Wall. I've seen some of his footage on YouTube. Big goalkeeper, agile. One-on-one, he's quick as a flash out his goal. He looks the part. And he's 25 years old. He's a lot younger than Forster. So I think from a sell-on point of view, and Celtic have always done this. They look to sign people who they can sell on again. Forster is a massive outlay at 7, 8, 10 million, and you're not going to get anything back. You're not going to be able to sell him again. There's no sell-on from him. Barkas at that age, you can bring him in, he could be really impressive and you could sell him to England. So that'll be in the back of the mind, I think, of Peter Lawwell and the board at Celtic, thinking we still want to do the model of bringing guys in and selling them on for a big profit. And Celtic supporters want the here and now. They will want Forster in. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go down. If Neil Lennon hangs on for Forster, because, listen, the season starts next week. And Forster could be down in England. He could be weighing up his options for other clubs. Maybe wanting to stay down in England and keep getting his 70, 80 grand a week. So I think Celtic have got to do something now because, as I said, Scott Bain, they've got 2 young goalkeepers. They need a goalkeeper in now. They can't afford to drop any points at the start of the season, especially with it being such a big season for the club.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting one. We'll all be keeping our eye on it here. I think if I was Celtic and you're confident in Barkas and you can get him for half the price, and as you say, Tam, the sell-on fee is going to be there, I would go for him if they're confident in him.
But you've got to remember, it's different pressures when you play at the Old Firm, Gabs. Mm-hmm. Fraser Forster's been used to that. He knows the demands and the expectations, so that's where probably for me, Fraser Forster would suit Neil Lennon better. He knows the club inside out, and he knows how big a season this is coming up. They're going for 10. Rangers are going to try and stop the 10. So he wants somebody that he can 100% rely on. No doubt this boy's a top goalkeeper. I mean, I checked him up as well a couple of days ago, and he's got great reports and he looks the part. But you never know until they walk out in that pitch and you're playing in front of 60,000 fans. I had it myself when I was at Rangers, when players come in and they get stage fright when they go out. And they see 50,000 fans demanding for you after 10, 15 minutes if things are not going well. It's a daunting place at times. So that's where I think they might need to go and try something different and try and get Fraser Forster in, whether that's dipping further into the bank account or no, I don't know.
Yeah, I do see what you mean, but hey, maybe it'll help him when he's playing with no fans. If he does come in, it won't be as intense. Quick one here. Mitch McEwen agrees with you, Tam. He says Forster won't have a resale value, so paying the high fee doesn't make sense. Craig McAllister, question for Barry. Who's the best goalkeeper you've ever played with?
Alan McGregor. For a sustained period, just for a period of time, I played with some great goalkeepers, Kloss, Andy Gorham when I was a bit younger. But I'm talking about over a length of time, a period of time, would probably be Alan McGregor. I just like his attitude. He's just a winner, whether it was in training, whether it was in games, he just wanted to win. And top quality goalkeeper as well. Again, he was another guy who could produce top saves at vital moments in games, and they're worth their weight in gold, goalkeepers like that.
Yeah, you're completely correct. McGregor still doing it to this day, still impressing for Rangers. Finally, on the transfer front, Kilmarnock, a team we've talked quite a bit about this week. They made a signing on Wednesday, the left-back from Portsmouth. They are now in talks to re-sign Aaron Tishbola. The free agent has left his Portuguese side. The midfielder is impressed since he's been at Killy previously, and also chasing a deal for Daniel Bachmann, the keeper, who was there 2 years ago under Steve Clarke. He sat on the bench for Watford, been third choice. They're looking to bring him in on loan. Would they be two good additions, Tam? Both played for Killy, both been successful?
Yep, I think they would be. Both know the Scottish League. Both, most importantly, know that they're going to be playing on AstroTurf every second week. So I think that's a big thing. You know, you're signing players. Listen, you're going to be playing on turf every second week. Maybe every week you're playing Hamilton Accies and teams like that. So, listen, I think it's two good signings for them. They know the club. They know Alec Dyer, the way he works. He was obviously number 2 under Stevie Clarke. I think it'll be an easy transition for Alec Dyer. Obviously, they've got a big game coming up against Hibs at the weekend. I'll be at that one, and it'll be interesting to see how they shape up Kilmarnock, if they're going to be similar to Stevie Clarke in terms of sitting in and being very tight and hard to break down, or if Alec Dyer's going to play different style of football.
The new face of Hibs TV, he gets it in.
They must studying already.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
You got a bit of stick to come all season, Tam. I think a bit of stick to come.
Get that hair dyed. Get that hair
Yeah,
especially
if I go to Ibrox and Hibs get hammered. Oh, I don't even want to come on the show. You see Barry.
I'll be hammering you.
Look forward to it. No, but Barry, I've enjoyed what Kilmarnock have done in the transfer window so far. How do you think they'll shape up for the season? You fancy them for a top 6 finish again?
Yeah, they've quietly went about their business, and I think it's a wise appointment in getting Alex Dyer to sign I think it was a 2-year contract. As Tam says, he was the right-hand man under Stevie Clarke. He knows the players, he knows how they operate. I fancy them to certainly be in the top 6. They've got some decent players, a good mixture, Kilmarnock, good mixture of experience, and a few younger ones as well. So no, he's went about his business quietly and he's signed some decent players. And I've always liked the two in midfield. They go quietly about their business. Power and my son a boy.
Dicker.
Dicker. I like the two of them.
Yeah.
2 of them are 7 out of 10 every single week. Good experience about them. So I think they will, not easily, but I think they will finish in the top 6.
Yeah, I think they will as well. I'm a big Brophy fan, so I think he'll get a few more goals this season. Right, come on, we've got to get on to the friendlies at the weekend. Plenty taking place. As I said, though, St Mirren will not be playing St Johnstone due to the COVID-19 outbreak at the club. Ones that are going ahead, Celtic finally found some fixtures. If you've been watching through the week, you'll notice that they've had 3 or 4 different supposed opponents. Originally, there were 2 Irish teams that were meant to be playing them. Both now couldn't play due to the Irish travel ban to Scotland. They then arranged a fixture against Motherwell, Motherwell's B team, that is, on Sunday, but that's since been scrapped. They'll now be playing Ross County on Sunday and then Hibs on Monday, both at Celtic Park. If you remember, County and Hibs are a game down because their game was cancelled last week. So that'll be Lennon delighted that he can get more minutes in the legs, as you managers say, Barry, because he was really concerned that they weren't going to get proper fixtures in before the opener on Sunday.
Yep, as a manager, that's what you want. A week before you play your first competitive league game, you want to get minutes in their legs, and obviously they've went and they've sorted 2 friendlies, one on a Sunday and one on a Monday, and I think it'll be 2 different teams. Obviously, it'd be crazy to play the same team 2 days in a row, but it'll get the minutes in the legs that he'll want leading up to the first game against Accies.
Tam, do you think it's the minutes in the legs cliche, or will it be a bit more tactical, a bit more of a preparation? This is what we're going to do next week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Celtic go about it, Gabs, if they play their strongest team on the Sunday or the Monday, because Neil Lennon will be looking to, as you said, shape up his team for Hamilton Accies. I think both teams will come and they'll defend. You know, you got to go to Celtic and you've got to be kind of pragmatic about your approach to the game. But so I think that it'll be interesting to see. I think Barry said it'll be 2 different teams. They'll get 90 minutes in the legs before the game on Sunday, the following Sunday. So no, Barry says it's important for any player to get game time in pre-season. You don't feel as if you're fit enough unless you've played 4 or 5 games. You know, you can do as much running as you want, but you've got to play. You've got to play games, and I think everybody at Celtic will get 90 minutes. Everybody in the first team squad over those 2 games, and that will set them up nicely for the following Sunday against Accies.
Tam, I take it you're not working at Parkhead on Monday for Hibs TV, are you?
I don't know. I don't think so at the moment.
When do you start
next week?
Start the season?
You'll be buzzing. You'll be buzzing if he's working.
Aye. No, I don't think so. I think I'm in next Wednesday for a little run through with the guys at Hibs TV, but I don't know if they'll be covering that game at Celtic. I think Celtic TV will maybe be covering it. So I'll maybe watch that in a stream somewhere.
Yeah. Hey, we all look forward to seeing you on Hibs TV next week, Tam. We will all be looking forward to it. Okay, St Mirren obviously not playing. Do you think that can have an effect, Barry? A bit sluggishness, you know, if they've played two less games.
Yeah, I think Jim Goodwin will be disappointed that he's not got a kind of competitive game before the season kicks off. But I'm sure they'll do 11 against 11. He'll do a full-size game in training. There's no doubt about it. It'll not be as serious as it would be if you're playing against a team that you don't really know. But he'll try and get a bounce game in training amongst each other. That's 100% certain that Jim Goodwin will do that, because he'll want to try and get them up to speed as quick as possible, because it's a big season for St Mirren. He's another manager that I think's went quietly about his business and signed some decent players. So I think St Mirren could be a surprise package. I think St Mirren might surprise a few people this season.
Top 6, Barry, for the buddies?
Yeah, top 6.
I don't know if it might be too much for them, but I like the business he's done, Tam. I don't know about yourself. I think he's signed some decent players, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be. But Gabby, sorry, I think it'll be tight. I mean, there's a lot of clubs who are maybe unknown. Dundee United as well. They'll be looking to push into the top 6. You don't know. I think it'll. Some teams might react better to playing with no fans than others as well. It'll be interesting to see how the season starts off, because St Mirren, obviously Tony Fitzpatrick came out and said that he expects St Mirren to be in the top 6, which I think put pressure on Jim Goodwin. But first and foremost for a club like St Mirren, they'll be looking to stay in the division again, and then maybe push later on.
I think with St Mirren, it's a striker, a goal scorer. If they had a goal scorer that scores 15, 18 goals, then they could be top six. But I think that might be
they cost a lot of money, Gabs, goal scorers. And let St Mirren know a club that can go out and spend a lot of money. They need to go and pick up quite a few free agents. But some of his signings have been decent this season. So, as I said, I think they'll have a decent enough season, St Mirren.
Yeah, be interesting to see how they get on in that first game. Motherwell versus Hamilton, Lanarkshire derby also taking place tomorrow, and Rangers taking on Coventry. Barry, for Stephen Gerrard, the final one. Why Coventry, do you think? Any particular reason, or how's he going to line up there? Any insight you can offer us?
No, well, it'll be different for playing against your opponents in your league. I think it'll be a welcome break for that. Coventry promoted into the Championship with a real good season, so that'll be a decent enough test for Rangers, and it'll be another game for the players to try and impress and make sure they're not starting 11, because it's what a game to kick off the season, going up to Pittodrie. Always a hard place to go, but it's a place. Loved the atmosphere. Well, the atmosphere, I was saying, was always electric, but obviously with no fans. But I still think it'll be a bitey occasion up there when you go up and play Aberdeen. So no, I think it'll be a decent game against Coventry. As I said, they done really well last season and getting promoted. So it'll be a good test for the guys, and hopefully get them ready for the kick-off up at Pittodrie next week. Yeah,
really looking forward to that game at Pittodrie. I'm actually in Aberdeen next Saturday, so looking forward to that one. That's enough from us on the friendlies. We'll go over all of them on Monday morning when Peter will be back with you for that. A quick word, Hearts and Partick Thistle, it's still here. We've not had any resolution yet. We think maybe 6 o'clock today. Will it drag on to Monday? Who knows? We've heard all week that it was going to be today or tomorrow. Nothing yet for all those asking. Niall Kane, you quite often ask about it, one of the regulars on the show. Still nothing. Perhaps 6 o'clock, but stay tuned to all of our social media channels and our website for all of the breaking news. Tam, we just hope it gets resolved today, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's been dragging on for months. We're sick of talking about it on the show. I don't think they're going to get reinstated in their respective leagues. I think they're both going to get relegated, but hopefully something can get worked out behind the scenes and they get compensation, because they do deserve compensation of some sort. You know, the league was finished early and they were, I think they were wrongfully relegated. So they've got to get some sort of money. And if they get that, we can all move on with the season. Obviously, the Championship and that starts back in October. They can get their fixtures out and we can look forward instead of keep looking back, because it's doing nobody any favours.
Barry, you're just the same, aren't you? I think it's the third time I've asked you this week. Same question.
Yeah, I just want closure on it, Gabby. As Tam just pointed out there, it's been going on for months, and I'm sure Hearts and Partick want closure now. They want to know, certainly the managers, I want to know Robbie and Ian McCall. They'll want to know as well, because obviously their budgets would change. We've been in the Championship and Partick been in League One, so they'll now need to start going and preparing and trying to get players in. So I think not just they two clubs, I think everybody in Scottish football just wants closure on it, and then we can move forward and just get back to hopefully our game getting kicked off next Saturday.
Yeah, as we say, hopefully that will come at 6 o'clock, a verdict, but as ever in Scottish football, nothing is for certain. Right, that's us leaving Scotland for the last 10 minutes. We're going to speak about English football. If you have any other questions, you've only got 10 minutes to send them in online, so make sure you do. I'm not sure if you two saw it earlier, but Jordan Henderson has been named the Football Writers Association Men's Player of the Year. Liverpool captain, of course, the 30-year-old got a quarter of the vote with Virgil van Dijk, Sadio Mane, Kevin De Bruyne and Marcus Rashford. When given the award, he said it was down to his teammates. Tam, we'll come to you first. Do you agree with that, Jordan Henderson?
I think there's been a number of candidates, to be honest, Gabs. Obviously, winning the league has went in his favour. I think he's had a great season. I think he's been a vital cog in the middle of the park for Liverpool. He's a captain, he's a leader, and they've obviously won the league. But, there's a number. I think Kevin De Bruyne has been superb this season, sensational at times, and there's another couple with Van Dijk as well who you can maybe put in. But it's the football writers, and they've decided to go for Henderson. So I think fair play to him. I think he's had a great season. It tops off a wonderful season for him personally, and winning the league as well. So no, I don't think many would argue that he's been great this season. You could maybe put forward another couple of candidates, but I think Liverpool winning the league has probably swayed it for him.
I can see the merits for Henderson, but for me, Kevin De Bruyne, every time I watch him play football, I just think that's how it should be played. He's unbelievable, and he would have been my man. I'm not sure about you, Barry. Who would you have gone for?
Yeah, De Bruyne, he's a wonderful football player. Just love watching him. It's just crazy that Chelsea let him go. I honestly couldn't believe that. But no, he's brilliant to watch. Wonderful footballer. I can see why Jordan Henderson's got it. Obviously, with Liverpool winning the first league title in 30 odd years, he is a real driving force. Jordan Henderson. Let's be honest. He's, as Tam rightly said there, he has been their top performer for me every time you watch Liverpool. He is a driving force. He's a captain. He's a leader. But De Bruyne for me was the outstanding player. There's no doubt in my mind. I just think with Jordan captaining Liverpool to the title, that's why he's just nicked the trophy.
I'm not big on individual awards, the Ballon d'Or and the players of the season. I don't think that really matters at the end of the day. But if it is individual, Kevin De Bruyne has been the best individual player for me, so I would have gone for him. A lot of love for Henderson online, though. Alison, Sarah Carroll, he was fantastic being the captain for Liverpool. Niall Kane, cracking player. Jordan Henderson, very passionate. Marion Christie, well done, Jordan Henderson, for lifting the trophy as Liverpool captain. Where do you think he ranks, guys, as Liverpool's midfielders? Obviously, he's not as commanding as Steven Gerrard was in there, or perhaps even Graham Souness. But how highly do you rate Henderson amongst the Premier League best midfielders?
I think he's got to be up there. He's led Liverpool to a title. I liked what he said when he won the football writers. He's rightly mentioned his teammates because they're a big help to you. I'm with you individually. I like when players go up and thank the staff and the players, because he wouldn't have been that same player with the players that are round about him. Because let's be honest, he has got some fantastic players. But listen, he is a top midfielder. He's obviously the captain of Liverpool. He's one of the first picks at international level as well. So listen, he rightly deserves the award. But I liked his statement. I really liked that about his teammates have been part of it, and they made him a better player and made him a better person, which I always like to see.
Tam, what do you think going forwards for Liverpool? Henderson's 30 now. They've got quite a young team in there. They've got Ronaldo, Fabinho, who usually always start. They've got Naby Keita, scored a fantastic goal on Wednesday. Oxlade-Chamberlain, and the Thiago rumours from Bayern Munich. He's a fantastic player. If they could bring him in as well, their midfield would be very strong. So would you say that Henderson's place is almost under threat? And could that be a reason why he's excelled so much this campaign?
Yeah, I think, Gabs, when you're at clubs like that who are successful and win the Champions League, win the league, everybody's place is under threat. You've got to have that competition for places, and Liverpool have got it all over the park. You mentioned some of the names there. If Liverpool can get Thiago in as well, he'd be a sensational signing. So again, it adds to the competition in there. I think clubs who are successful like Liverpool have to build on it. You can't afford to rest on your laurels. You've got to strengthen from a position of strength and keep bringing in 2 or 3 world-class players to strengthen the squad and keep the competition going. So I think Liverpool, obviously Man City next year, will be desperate to win that league back. They finished a long way behind Liverpool this season, and I think they'll strengthen. There's been a lot of rumours who they're going to sign already, so maybe even Messi, who knows. So listen, I think that Liverpool have to keep strengthening. They have to keep bringing in 1 or 2 real top players every season to complement what they've got.
It'll be interesting to see next season, but we're going to finish on the Premier League season. It concludes on Sunday, 4 o'clock. All 10 games will kick off in unison. You've got the race for the Champions League. Leicester host Manchester United, knowing that they must beat the Reds to be in the top 4 next season. Chelsea have got Wolves. Chelsea need a point, but Wolves also need something to guarantee Europa League football. So 2 crackers there. Then down the bottom, you've got Aston Villa. They'll stay up as long as they equal Watford's result. It's a draw or a win, whereas if they both lose, Bournemouth could still stay up. So it's very tight down there. Now, Watford travel to Arsenal. The team Villa beat midweek. Mikel Arteta, the Arsenal manager, has insisted that he'll be playing a full-strength side because he respects that there are other teams at the bottom relying on Arsenal.
No, I'm going to assess the squad, how they're feeling, how everybody has recovered, and ideally I want to play as a strong team as I can. As well, we have to respect that there are a few teams in relegation battle, and we are responsible for that as well.
So Arsenal going full strength. They've also got the cup final in a weekend's time. Also, not to forget that. How do you two see it? Your tip to stay up between Villa, Watford and Bournemouth. Tam, I'll go to you first. Who's staying up?
I think Aston Villa will stay up. I think it was important that West Ham got the point the other night against Man United that kind of guarantees their survival. Aston Villa have been on a brilliant run. I think they've picked up 7 points for the last 9. Which has gave them a great chance to stay up. You know, and Villa are a great club. I'll be really delighted for them if they stayed up. So I think they'll go to West Ham and win the game. Watford depends what sort of team Arsenal pick and how interested they are in the game. Last game of the season, Arsenal little to play for. So depends on that. But I think Aston Villa are in a driving seat definitely. So I think they'll stay up.
Barry, are you the same?
Yep, I agree. I think Aston Villa will stay up. I think Arsenal will beat Watford. They're playing for places in the cup final. And you just heard Arteta say there that he'll play as strong a possible team as he can. So I think if they go out there and don't perform, they'll not be playing in the cup final the following week. So I don't see Watford getting anything there. But I can't believe going on Watford. I thought it was a joke. I'm sacking their manager. I honestly couldn't believe that. He came in
manager of the season.
He came in and he took them for bottom of the league. At least they were in with a fighting chance. And just to sack him with 2 games to go, I think it's crazy. Crazy management.
Why the owners have done that? Have they done that for some reason to try and give the players a kick?
I don't know. Tam just says a good thing. You have 3 managers in a season. It's crazy. I mean, I think since I've took over, they've had some... I can't remember the exact number. Was it 16, 17 managers in the space of 8 years? Something crazy like that. That's not fair in the players.
There's no continuity of the club.
No, the players will be all over the place, but I just can't see Watford getting anything at Arsenal. As I said, I think Arsenal will beat them, knowing that they've got to produce a performance to make sure they're in that cup final team.
To be honest, it's a miracle that Watford have stayed up as long as they have, changing their managers constantly. You wonder how they get that continuity. That's on the bottom. Top 4, Leicester, Chelsea, United. Leicester have to beat Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's men. I asked Darren and Alison yesterday. Darren said that Leicester will get top 4. What do you two think?
Well, I think that Leicester have had a nightmare, haven't they? Since they come back for a lockdown, they have been in free fall, but they've still got an opportunity now, you know. And listen, a lot of Celtic fans will be secretly delighted if Brendan Rodgers doesn't get in the top 4, to be honest, after the way he left the club. So, but they've still got an opportunity. One game, you know, he beat Man United and finish in the top 4. Do I think they can do it? Yeah, I think they can do it, but I don't think they will. I think Man United will beat them.
William Webb.
I think.
You the same, Barry?
Yeah, I think Man United, listen, apart from that semi-final performance against Chelsea, I think they've been in great form since they've come back for lockdown. So I think Man United will beat Leicester.
Man United will beat Leicester. I'm going for Leicester to beat United. Maybe that's just my...
Depends if Man United put a goalie in.
Yeah.
De Gea's been having a shocker.
Honestly. Final thing from me before we go for the weekend. The Premier League have confirmed that the season will start on the 12th of September. The next campaign, that's just after the international break. So it's going to be such a tight season. Barry, Tam, as former players, are players thinking, am I even going to get to go away on holiday? You know, if you're a team like City or United, where you've got the Europa League or Champions League, which runs until the end of August, you've then got a week off, internationals, and the season starts again. What do you think?
They'll not be bothered, Gabby. Listen, they had 3 months off there. We no football during lockdown, so the players, certainly, I can only speak for myself. I'm sure Tam will be the same, and the vast majority of players. There's nothing better than playing football, and we all missed it, even supporters, media, whatever, and certainly the players. They won't bother. They've got a week break. They had plenty of time off to sit back and think how lucky they are to be playing football, so that won't concern them.
I would actually disagree with Barry there. I'd be raging and never got my wee week to Magaluf at the end of the season with the boys. So
just make up for it next year. Make up for it next year.
2 weeks next.
I would look at it. Aye, we'll not go for 7 days. We'll go for 14 days. That's the way you look at it.
I couldn't hack that. 14 days in Magaluf. Right, we'll leave it on that. I'm sure you could, Tam. We'll leave it on that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the pair of you, for helping me through this week. And thank you for all of you at home that have tuned in. Peter will be back on Monday. Thanks for bearing with me this week.
Gabby, well done this week, pal. Done well this week.
Aye.
You done well, mate.
Done well. My mate actually texted me and said he looked like a young Noel Edmonds last night.
Noel Edmonds? Is that a bad one?
I don't know.
I don't know what a young...
I actually thought it was a good...
It's better than Paul Hartley and people in that.
Certainly better than Paul Hartley, that's for sure.
You've done well this week.
You've done well. Well done, mate.
Thanks a lot, boys. And once again, thank you to everyone at home for sticking with us. Don't forget, you can like, share, and subscribe to all of our social media channels. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And don't forget to join us at the same time next week, where we'll be building up to the start of the Premiership season. Thank you very much once again, and bye-bye.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit